Good morning and welcome. We glad that you're joining us today. Today is February 10th, 2026, Tuesday for Administrative Matters meeting here for the Larimer County Board of County Commissioners in our hearing room at our Administrative Service Building. I call this meeting to order. We're going to stand and and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome again, and thank you so much for joining us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I am Larimer County Commissioner Jody Shadowbick-Nally, Chair of the Board of County Commissioners. I'm joined by my colleagues at the dais, Commissioner Kristen Stevens and Commissioner John Kafalis. Also joining us and helping us with our meeting today, we have the clerk to the board who takes such meticulous notes. We appreciate her, Diane Cheney. And we also have our county manager, Lorenda Volker. We have Michelle Bird, who is here from our public information office, but she's filling in for Sarah Martin today to help us with schedules. And we have Tom Clayton also from the public information office and supports us in many ways. And we have lots of special folks today, so I wanted to tell my colleagues I'm going to change the order of the agenda just a little bit, just so we can accommodate our special guests today. But first, we're going to go ahead and do public comment. And so we will have a 3-minute time limit on the public comment. And we have a couple of folks that have signed up. So first we have Brian Debuse. I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce that correctly. Please, sir, welcome to the podium. Would you please state your name and also where you live? Thank you.
All right. Can you hear me? Okay. So my name is Brian Debuse, and I live in unincorporated Larimer County between Loveland and Fort Collins in a subdivision. One of the things that I've been working with Commissioner Stevens on or talking to her about are abandoned vehicles in the road right-of-ways. Okay. I have called the sheriff a couple of times and requested they look at vehicles in the neighborhood. Some of them they remove, some of them they don't. Okay. Basically, our roads are about 35 feet wide, and the right-of-way is 13 to 15 feet past the edge of the pavement, which means these vehicles are parked in the road right-of-way. When they're parked in the road right-of-way without a plate or without tags or with expired tags, and they've been parked there a long time, I would consider them an abandoned vehicle. And I think they need to be towed. It has become a lot worse since COVID. But once one vehicle shows up like this, the next thing that happens is the next guy thinks he can do it. And then the next guy thinks he can do it. Right now, there's at least 10 vehicles in the neighborhood that are either expired, no plates, no tags, nothing, parked on the road right away. This leads me to believe, 1, the vehicle's not operational. 2, it's not insured. 3, it's abandoned if it's been there for a while. I don't know what to do about it. One of the things that I've been told by deputies is their funding has been cut back so they can't do this. I'm not sure if that's true or not. But between code compliance and other things. I was going to bring pictures, but there's not enough time in 3 minutes. So I may send pictures and an email to each one of you that kind of shows what's going on in the neighborhood. I have worked on it for several years, 5 years. A lot of them have taken care of themselves with my help. A lot of them have taken care of themselves on their own because people are moving in and out of the neighborhood. And generally, these people don't stay too long and they move on. But it's a problem. And I'm not sure if it's just my neighborhood or if you guys are seeing this across the county. Maybe the sheriff can answer that question. That's all I want to do today. I was going to come next week because next week I would like to talk about sports bikes with loud mufflers and high speeds and no plates going up and down our roads. So that's all I'll say today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your public comment and bringing this to our attention. I now invite Mr. Sutherland to the podium, please. You have 3 minutes.
Eric Sutherland, citizen of Fort Collins, Larimer County. Tell you, you can draw a straight line between the Board of County Commissioners, Larimer Democratic Committee, as to how Trump got elected, why we don't have health care in this country, why we don't have housing for people in this country. Straight line, just like the sights of a rifle on a barrel, whether it be Ruby Ridge or the streets of Minneapolis. Why did I say that? It's because you've got a municipality in Larimer County, Timoth, made a mockery of the Urban Renewal Authority law. That's not my words. Those are the words of the Larimer County attorney back in 2005 when a lawsuit was brought to try to overturn their declaration of 13 square miles of land as urban blight. Since then, receiving tens of millions of dollars of property tax diverted through the TIF mechanism in a manner that is completely inconsistent with the law. The law says that TIF is debt financing only. Principal interested premiums for debts that are funded, refunded, or assumed. That's all it is. Timoth has been using TIF as general fund revenue since its inception. The same with Loveland Urban Renewal Authority. I understand they have some problems down there right now, but the scope of the problems still isn't quite fully understood. And so I bring this to your attention now because this abuse of state law, for which the Board of County Commissioners and the staff of Larimer County has done absolutely nothing to arrest, has now led the Poudre School District into a situation where it has illegally taxed its taxpayers by tens of millions of dollars and now owes a refund for the same. How did this happen? Well, for example, 2024, the school district put a ballot question on the ballot asking for permission to bring in $49 million. 5 weeks after the measure passed, it put a mill levy to the board for $52 million. That $3 million difference is illegal and needs to be refunded to the taxpayers. It will happen eventually. But this is the kind of consequence of your complete inaction in a manner that suggests nothing short of absolute corruption. And it's really just it's really a shame. It's really a blight on Larimer County. It's a black eye for every citizen in this county, but we will get it fixed.
Is there anyone else in the room who would like to do public comment? Okay. Is there anyone on the line, Michelle?
No, Commissioner.
Great. Well, I'm going to close public comment, and colleagues, I will see if you'd like to respond to any of the public comment today. Commissioner Stevens.
Yeah, want to thank Mr. DeBuse for coming by. He said he was going to, and he made good on his word, so appreciate it. Good to see you, and great job on public comment. I think we've spoken about how we're working on abandoned vehicles. I think we're still looking at some ordinances to address that would make it easier for the sheriff to deal with those abandoned vehicles. I mean, I do believe that they have the power to do that now, and you've spoken about the fact that you've received some help with that. Not exactly what you've wanted, but some help. And so we will, I'll be in touch as, we bring that ordinance forward. And certainly, we've also talked about the difference between what code compliance can do and what the sheriff can do with regard to things being in the right of way or being on private property. So, but good to see you, and I'm glad you brought those to your attention. And one of the questions you did pose was whether this happens all over the county, and it actually does. And that's why we're considering an ordinance, because this is not just in your neighborhood, although I know it's problematic in your neighborhood. So thank you again for being here, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week about the motorbikes. And we'll probably make a call to the sheriff just to make sure that he's aware of both of those issues too. Thank you. As far as Mr. Sutherland, thank you for coming by. there are some problems, obviously, with Urban Renewal Authority. I know that Senator Marchman is working on a bill to sort of tighten up urban renewal authorities. One of the suggestions that I've made is that there should be a geographic boundaries that are much smaller, so a whole town can't be encompassed in an urban renewal authority. I agree. I don't think that that's the intent of urban renewal authorities. So we will work with her on that to try to tighten those up. It does take money away from the school district, from all our special districts, and from Larimer County. So with the changes to the TIF bill that happened, I believe in 2015 or so, we actually sit on an urban renewal authority board, but I don't have to tell that to you, Mr. Sutherland. You're quite aware of what changes have been made in urban renewal authority. We weren't here when those became part of those urban renewal authorities. And we've been in touch with our lawyers to see what we can do. We'll be glad when those dollars come back to our community. But I think in the future we do need to look at ways to rein in the use of tax increment financing in urban renewal authorities. So thank you for being here.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. I will respond to the first person who offered public comment, Brian, I think it is. Thank you. And I won't repeat what Commissioner Stevens said, but I would add that
Unknown caller.
My hope is that within the next month, we will have a meeting with the sheriff's office, with the sheriff and our county attorneys to finalize the language of the proposed ordinance that would provide some additional tools for the sheriff's office to deal with this situation. And yes, indeed, it is happening around the county. And I welcome the photographs that you would send us so we can get a visual of what's happening, and more specifically where the locations are between Fort Collins and Loveland that you're experiencing. And then there was the other issue about hot rodding or speeding or whatever it's called these days. So thank you for being here. I don't have anything else to add regarding the comments. I think Commissioner Stevens stated that well. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian, for being here. I echo what Commissioner Stevens says. We're working really hard trying to come up with this ordinance, but also trying to make sure we do it correctly, and we have been working with the sheriff. It is happening a lot of areas in unincorporated Larimer County, and also in some of the areas where we are, it's growth management areas in between the cities and the county. So, but the whole county is us, and we're trying to work with also our municipal partners, but we're trying to give more tools to the sheriff. And I do know the sheriffs are working really hard with the resources they have. There's just a lot happening, but this is also very important. And I am interested in talking with you also about the motorbikes. I know there's a lot of folks that maybe they live near open spaces or U.S. forest land that they're using those roads to access those. And I think that's also something that we've been trying to talk with for the last couple of years with the U.S. Forest Service and some folks. And so I welcome the emails and the communication, and it just helps us keep that on our priority list, because we have a lot of priorities, but make sure that it kind of keeps forward. We'll certainly be supporting the sheriff. Mr. Sutherland, I agree with Commissioner Stevens. We were not, and thank you Mr. Brian, thank you for coming today. Mr. Sutherland, I agree with Commissioner Stevens. We were not the board or even around when any of these were in place. Some of them are 20 years old. And so I think it is kind of horrible to say that there's a direct line. I completely disagree with that premise, that because we have actually been fighting to bring accountability. I've spent many hours, hundreds of hours, working on bringing the Loveland Urban Renewal Authority, as we had a national reputable very reputable firm, to just a small sliver of a observation. It's not really a full audit, but it's just because it's only a sliver of all the entries, and it did find some things to explore and understand, and that maybe we need to hold accountable. Also, I wasn't here with the Timnith, and it's something that I have been talking about for since 2010, as my kids were in Thompson School District, so we were aware of the county and others that have had diverted tax funding, and so I just want to be very clear to the public. I do disagree and push back on the premises that we have allowed these. We haven't tried to hold them in check. We have lost over $51 million since 2005 from the Thompson School District. It's been diverted. The school district is double that. And so I have been pushing back. We had a bill that made it all the way through the House and Senate 2 years ago. And the night before the last day, it was vetoed by the governor. That would at least close one of the loopholes. And Commissioner Stevens is right. We have been able to have a seat on those boards. However, we're one seat, and the city councils and them are also have more seats, but at least we have a seat and have a way to have a voice. And we look for good partners, because I do think that the intent of the Urban Renewal Authority needs to be reined in, or that law, and be really held accountable, because it is really hard to have resources that are shrinking when we have others that are diverted. And so I look forward to our continued conversation with Senator Marchment. She ran the bill before that had been vetoed, and so I feel, if anything, this board has been trying to have accountability and transparency, and so I do push back on the direct line or any instance of corruption, because I believe this board has been very accountable and transparent, and we have been asking hard questions and trying to bring more transparency to that. And I just sat in that bill, in that meeting with the stakeholder with Senator Marchment last week about her bill, and I'm certainly excited and hoping that that bill progresses and she takes all the feedback. And so I would also encourage you that we should be talking to our municipal partners, since they have more of the power of the boundaries and things. So with that, that's all I have to say. And we will now close public comment. We're moving on. And as I mentioned, colleagues, I'm going to be changing the order of the agenda, and because we have special guests here today that I want to honor, and they've been very patient and quiet, and we're very excited to have them here today. Our first discussion item is Larimer County Board of County Commissioners approval and signing of the Early Childhood Child Care and Programs Planning and Implementation Phase Professional Services Grant. I'm going to ask Jenna to come up from Finance. Is she here?
I think maybe Vanessa, are you?
Vanessa, would you be able to come up and?
Are you and Christina going to
for Heather
jointly present this?
And we'll have Christina Taylor also come up from it was the Early Childhood Council of Larimer County, but also it's now Larimer Kids with Thrive. And look at your shirt. So I was like, there's no kids there. So we will turn this over to you to explain what we are talking about today. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Good morning, commissioners. Good morning, staff. My name is Vanessa Fuel. I'm a Human Services Division Manager and a proud board member of NOCO Kids Thrive. I'm so pleased to be able to introduce Christina Taylor today on behalf of Director O'Hare, who is not here at the moment. She may be arriving soon, though. And Christina is going to talk a bit today about the relationship between the County Department of Human Services, NOCO Kids Thrive, and the passing of the 1B tax measure.
Yes, that's all. That was great on the fly. Good job. Good morning, commissioners. Good morning, county staff. And then good morning to all these amazing folks that showed up for us today. I'm Christina Taylor, CEO of Northern Colorado Kids Thrive. We are here today to discuss the finalization of a contract between Larimer County and Northern Colorado Kids Thrive for the implementation of 1B tax dollars in our community. We have been working on this contract for several months to make sure we get it right. And I'm just going to share a few high-level points, and then we can bring up all these amazing kiddos and kind of celebrate this historic moment. Voters approved this funding to lower child care costs and strengthen early childhood services across our community, and we are moving quickly to deliver on that promise. In the first year, more than $3 million will go directly to families, educators, and early childhood programs. For those that are listening, we do expect the tax to generate more than $20 million a year, and we are intentionally going slow this year. I'll explain more in a moment. Families will begin receiving child care cost support this year, and educators will see wage and workforce investments to stabilize programs. The county is partnering with the trusted community organization, Northern Colorado Kids Thrive, to implement this work with transparency and accountability. Northern Colorado Kids Thrive ran the campaign and was chosen as an administrative partner for approximately 80% of the funding through a competitive RFP process. This contract puts Larimer County in a strong position to oversee sustainable early childhood system for the long term in partnership with NoCo Kids Thrive. Why are we taking the first year to go slow? We want to really focus on ensuring that we are delivering funds responsibly and equitably, and that pilots allow us to deliver early benefits while building systems that scale without disruption. As I mentioned, families will begin receiving tuition support in the final quarter of 2026, with full expansion planned in subsequent years. The county maintains very strong fiscal and administrative oversight through this contract, which requires regular reporting, financial controls, evaluation, and Board of County Commissioner updates, while allowing the implementing organization, NoCo Kids Thrive, flexibility to respond to community needs. Last but not least, I want to just sing the praises of NoCo Kids Thrive. We've been around for 28 years serving this community. We are a trusted leader in the community supporting child care providers and families. And we have the infrastructure and staffing and expertise to make this work well. I'm very proud of the team that has seen this through. This is an historic moment. We have been working on bringing public funding into early childhood for a very, very long time. I want to say thank you to Larimer County voters that helped us pass this measure in November of 2025. Thank you to the Board of County Commissioners and county staff for believing in this effort, for helping us campaign, and for understanding that this is the right way for us to move forward. We are going to have a tremendous impact on children, families, and educators across Larimer County, and I hope we can all feel incredibly proud about that. That's all I have to say. I'll pause for commissioners' comments, and then we can bring up this amazing crew of folks.
Thank you, Christina, and thank you all for being here. Thank you, Vanessa, for filling in, and I hope we get a chance to see Heather. But we will now turn this over to my colleagues for any comments. I'll start with Commissioner Stevens.
Yeah, I'll ask a question first, Christina. Thank you for being here. Can you just explain a little bit about the formation of the Early Childhood Council of Larimer County and kind of just, why you're a chosen partner, why, your kind of sort of relationship and how you were created?
Absolutely, yes. So the Early Childhood Council, which is what we as Northern Colorado Kids Thrive serve as in our community, as I mentioned, has been around since 1997. We are established through state statute to serve the early childhood system, and we are one of 35 early childhood councils across the state that work to ensure high-quality early childhood supports and services in their various catchment areas. We serve all of Larimer County, and we also serve as the local coordinating organization for Universal Preschool, which means we administer and support families and educators in accessing Universal Preschool locally as well.
Thank you. I think it's important for people to understand that you were formed through state statute. I just want to say thank you all for being here. Thank you for all the kiddos to be here. It's really great to see that. I'm thrilled about this. I was thrilled to see the tax passed. Very thrilled that we are able to support families and children in our community. And, we are facing a time of really great uncertainty with regard to federal funding. We know that there's been a freeze on CCAP dollars, although there's a temporary restraining order that's let those dollars flow through, at least for now. But with that kind of uncertainty, this nod from the voters of Larimer County to work on this issue more in depth is really heartening, and it's really great to know that our taxpayers or our voters, are in support of this. Our taxpayers as well, I guess. that they're one and the same. And so, I can't wait to see what we do. I'm really glad that this money is going to start flowing out at the end of this year to families who need that support. And, some of those dollars will be kept by Larimer County to be able to provide support should something happen. We're not sure exactly what environment we're walking into at this point, but it's just really great to have these dollars available for families and children. So it's an affordability issue. It's also just high quality childcare. We know how important that is for young minds, for kids to grow. And we know how important it is as a parent when you're handing over your child to someone you don't know, that they're in good hands. And so this will ensure that. So thank you again for being here. Can't wait to celebrate with all of you. And I'll turn it over to one of my colleagues.
Thank you, Commissioner Stevens. I'm going to, Christine, if you don't mind, Heather O'Hare's joined us, and I know she's worked really long and hard on this, and I'd like her to come to the podium before we have Commissioner Koufalos' comments and mine, but I want to give her an opportunity just to add to this, and she has been here from day one and working for years, and also understand and fighting at the state and federal level for funding, child care funding and stuff as well. So I just wanted to thank you, Heather, and give you a moment to add to this. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. Sorry, I ran inside. Heather O'Hare, Human Services Director. I apologize. I had to be in multiple places this morning. But I know Vanessa gave the introduction, just excited to see it come to this point. I was a parent who unfortunately had to take my child to a place where I did not feel she was safe. And it impacted my ability to work when I started with the county. And just that stress that your mind and your heart is in other places while you're trying to also work, and no parent should have to go through that. So I'm very grateful to the ongoing partnership, friendship with Christina. We've worked in this space for more than 10 years, and just really excited to see it come to this point. So thank you.
Thank you, Heather. And we'll just have you stay there as well. And Vanessa, we should have you come up too. But Commissioner Koufalos, did you have some questions or comments?
Thank you. Actually, I have both questions and comments. Two questions. And this came up when I provided an update at my Wellington community conversation. But one of the individuals who's very involved with the expansion of the food pantry there and the Wellington Community Services Center asked the question, how will unincorporated parts of the county like Wellington, which I think has been identified as a child care desert, how will they have a voice, and what is the system in place to prioritize where investments may be made, to help expand capacity, infrastructure, like in a place like Wellington? That's my first question, please.
Excellent question. So we have committed to creating a Family and Provider Consumer Voice Council, which will include representation from all over the county, both geographically diverse, gender diverse, et cetera, to ensure that we have the right folks informing the rollout of this funding, and that it is equitably distributed across the county. That committee or that council will heavily inform the prioritization of funding being rolled out over the next couple of years, again, to ensure that we are listening to the community, we are meeting the community need, and that we are identifying our highest needs areas first and foremost.
And if I may do a follow-up, please, and then I do still have my other question. How will people be able to engage or perhaps apply to be on this council?
We will share that out very publicly when it becomes available. We have some folks on our team that are helping us design what this council will look like and ensuring, again, that we're getting an equitable selection of voices. If folks are interested in being engaged, I encourage you to go to NoCoKidsThrive.org. There will be opportunities to sign up for our newsletter, for regular 1B updates, etc. And that is an excellent way to ensure that if you want to be on some of these councils or other ways to engage, you're on the right list.
Thank you. Then, thank you very much. My other question is, and I believe you alluded to this, but can you say more about the intersection between Northern Colorado Kids Thrive, which is still Early Childhood Council of Larimer County, functioning as a local coordinating organization, the interaction between this investment and what we get from the state for the Universal Preschool program?
Absolutely. So Universal Preschool brings in, I want to say it was about $16 million last year to help support childcare in Larimer County. It supports 4-year-olds primarily to access childcare in preschool settings, and it supports up to 15 hours a week for most children. It can go up to 30, but for our high priority populations. That being said, the funding that will come through Northern Colorado Kids Thrive to support tuition will work complementary with that. So if families are paying still too much for preschool access at 4 years old, we'll be able to help continue to offset that after their universal preschool dollars come in. So that's kind of what it means for us as a local coordinating organization as well, is that we have eyes on where that funding is going and can ensure that the funding that comes in through 1B tax dollars is used efficiently and effectively and is not duplicating state or federal funds.
Great, thank you. May I make my comments now?
Certainly, I had said comments and questions, sir. Go ahead.
I'm sure that you do. And that's, yes. Well, and I'll try to be brief because my attention span is not always the best, but just want to say thank you to Northern Colorado Kids Thrive, Christina, and your team. Thank you to the children that are present. Certainly thank you to the taxpayers who agreed and recognized that this was a really important investment in our, it's a value that we all have about making sure that children are as prepared to go into school and learn, and future generations. So a lot of gratitude for that. I did bring my little sign that says, the greeting of that Maasai people in Africa, they greet each other, and how are the children at the moment? I think we can say a little bit better because we've all agreed and have a good plan to move forward to be thoughtful and accountable, transparent regarding investing these dollars to help families pay for the high cost of childcare. You can't work a job, especially if you're a single parent household, if you can't afford childcare. So you got to make tough choices. If you're a grandparent raising kids, you got to make tough choices. So this will help families. And then I've always wondered why perhaps one of the most important jobs in the world, get folks who do it get paid the least. So part of the plan is to figure out very thoughtfully, learning from best practices, how to pay folks more, and certainly how to create the capacity, infrastructure, more child care centers, supporting certified in-home child care providers, and all of the various networks that are out there. So lots of gratitude. That's probably enough. What else? And I brought my little finger puppet to say hello to all the children. Yes. I think that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Kafalis. I have a quick question, and I'm asking, I know the answer to this, but I wanted the public to understand because it is kind of unique. This hasn't been done in this region before. And again, thank you all for being here. And I want to tell all the people in the audience, probably maybe a few more minutes, we're going to have you engage with us in just a minute. But for the taxpayers, this is their sales tax, and how are we going to be sharing? And I know, like I said, I know what we're going to be doing, but how will we share the progress and the accountability and showing how their dollars were invested, just like we have with other measures that we have in the county, and how can I'm seeing the website, but how is also the partnership with the county as we are kind of collecting that? How are we? Can you kind of expand on the partnership and how that will have some transparency and accountability? I don't know, whoever wants to tackle that, I welcome it.
So I'm happy to start about how we will integrate this into existing processes and from the county's perspective, and then Christina can share more about the more outward-facing components. So to your question earlier, Commissioner Kafalis, about how are the funds really going to be spread across the county, knowing the diversity of the families and their needs, but also the geographic diversity, community diversity. So we will be spending the next several months very intentionally developing reports that also help to highlight some of that data, so that then we have the information to report out. But we will have dedicated work sessions with you all to report out on the progress, how the infrastructure capacity, how is the funding being spent. And then we will also have ongoing monitoring, auditing from an accounting perspective, a finance perspective. But we will have regular meetings with you all. We'll leverage our communication staff, but also Michelle Bird's team to share as there are exciting updates that we want to push out more intentionally. But I know Christina has a lot more detail in what they'll be doing alongside as well.
Yeah, not only are we committed to full transparency in the administration of tax dollars, we understand that this is an incredibly important stewardship opportunity. We were also going to engage in some really exciting evaluation. I think evaluation is one of the most important ways that we can be transparent and accountable to taxpayer dollars. And what we intend to do is really track outcomes for children that are accessing high quality childcare through 1B funding over the lifespan, if we can, so that we can really show how third grade reading scores are improved by high quality childcare. We can show how CMAS and MAPS testing and things like that, our high school graduation rates. We have examples from partner communities that have done this and have really shown just how incredible these investments can be on long-term outcomes for our children and our communities. And so we're also committed to doing a really solid job of that from day one, already in conversations with our school district partners to ensure that we've got the necessary data sharing in place so that we can have some really high quality evaluation as well.
Thank you. And one other quick question, but I'll just say yes or no, because I want to get to the comments and I want to get to our guests and have Lorena give a couple of words, no more than a couple of words. As you know, a few years ago with the law that was passed allowing lodging tax to go towards workforce housing and childcare in Estes Valley, and I was very involved with that as a stakeholder and big champion for that. And that has been happening and being lots of successful, and they report same kind of way to the city council and letting them know. And so that's filling, some gaps there, but I'm hoping, yes or no, are we also still partnering with them and knowing that they may still need just coordination or partnership up there as well?
Yes, very much so.
Okay, that's great, and I'm sure you can explain more later because that was something I forgot to ask the other day. So, my oldest is over 30, and even back then it was so important, and even then the research showed the first 5 years is so critical for development and for success in schools and also for families. And back then when I was working full time and my husband was working full time, we were going to graduate school and stuff, we had to pass the baby off, on campus and in between jobs. And one of the reasons I had to cut down is because I couldn't afford childcare. And the reason I could go part-time is because they did allow me to use on-site childcare for, half price. And so that allowed me to do that. But it was something even then was an issue. So it's something that we have been talking about for a long time. And in the meantime, there was some great work done, but still the gaps started growing and the costs started growing. And for lots of important reasons, with inflation, but also just wages. We need to invest in those folks. And I was part of an organization then that I was on the board where we fundraised to make sure we could pay for a high quality childcare person who actually had a master's in early childhood education. And that was a very unique and unusual model, but the parents fundraised on the side to pay for the salary. And so that was something I haven't seen, and it's something that even back then. So I just wanted to, share that kind of history as something that it's still kind of an ongoing issue for our community. So I'm really grateful for the partnership. We took, a few years to iron out kind of what was really needed and provide a map so we can show that we have a really important plan for investing. And I know we keep saying about how important this is, but this is a national problem and a state problem for millions of folks. And it's really important for these working families. I still look back and say, how did we do that? I don't know how we did that. But there's families all shapes and sizes. And configurations that are just juggling work and family responsibilities with maybe caring for aging parents, and really having that access to quality affordable childcare is, as you've already stated, has just really left many with few options in our communities to affordable care, and it really puts great financial strain on many, leaving them in debt, struggling to keep up with all of that and all the other factors that are happening in our community now, maybe dropping out of the workforce entirely or cutting the work hours such as I did. implemented, and just knowing that it has a ripple effects in our economy and for our businesses, especially our small businesses. So this is not just, it's so integrated and so integral for so much happening in our community. And I know we've heard from our employers too, it's really hard to retain and recruit folks if they can't stay in the workforce. And we know this is really going to provide some urgently needed support and really kind of provide some meaningful chance for us all looking at policy and solutions that really could benefit. So I think this is a great partnership, and I think it's very unique, and I'm really feeling excited to see what we do as we go slow to kind of build this up to be the best and most best stewardship and transparent, accountable for our taxpayer money. But we really need to solve this for our children to help them have this great start. And I think in the long run, our communities will benefit from families being supported, these children having a really good jump into their education, into their life, because the study shows they thrive way beyond high school in lots of different ways. So appreciate you all being here, and thanks to all the families and the wonderful children. You guys are doing such a great job. Lorenda, did you want to add to this? I know you have also been extremely instrumental all along to this, and I appreciate your leadership and your guidance with this as well.
I'll keep it very brief because I think the kids are getting a little antsy. This has been a great partnership. It really is a true collaboration. We know we don't have all the answers yet, so this is not a long-term 20-year contract. It's a short-term contract that will be worked on as we learn the course of this year. And the work that's being done is it's based on data and research. It's not just do more of what we're doing now. It really is do what's needed, because we know there isn't really enough money to solve the problem for everyone. So using it wisely in the best places really does make the most sense. And I appreciate the partnership this team has and the extended team beyond you all to really dig into that and understand what the community needs and how this can best be applied. So thank you. We'll keep talking. This is going to be a long-term thing that we work on together. And what a fun thing to measure 20 years from now to see just the difference that it made.
Thank you, Lorenda. Well said. And I agree with you. Amazing team partnering. And we are very fortunate here in Larimer County. We have the Human Service Director of the Year nominated by our peers. I mean, we are very, very fortunate to have amazing staff in this space. So we're going to move on and approve this. And we're going to ask Commissioner Stevens to make that motion, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Happy to. I move to approve the Early Child Care and Programs Planning and Implementation Phase Professional Services Agreement.
Thank you. There's a motion on the table. Any further discussion?
Yes.
Commissioner?
Yeah, I was reminded, I just want to acknowledge, do a shout out. I'm really happy to see Heather and your team on the human services side. You've been a real champion in this and so many other spaces regarding children and families. And so thank you, all of you folks that are here. Vanessa, I think we also should give a bunch of credit to our Assistant County Manager, Lori, who's kind of picked up the ball a little bit to work out some of the details of the preliminary contract as our county manager mentioned. And I think it's important to know two more things. One is that lessons learned. We learned a lot about figuring out agreements and contracts with regard to behavioral health services, and we're implementing that. And then finally, going back to my Wellington thing, I'm reminded, and perhaps you could give us the website there, Christina, that Early Childhood Council of Larimer County has been doing this for a long time, as you said, and there's a lot of infrastructure in place. And I believe one of the tools that you all have is like some kind of a website tool where people can locate childcare. Could you say a little bit about that, please?
Yes, we've had a website called larimerchildcare.org since 2020. We launched it actually with help from the commissioners back in 2020 to help support families finding childcare.
Thank you. That's all. Thank you kindly.
And while we move on, there's a important motion on the table. I want to not be neglectful. We have Ann Lance in the community, in the audience, who is the Executive Director at Teaching Tree, and she just celebrated 25 years leading that organization, and I think that's important that we recognize. Thanks for being here today, Ann. Very important milestone. I wanted to make sure we also welcome her because she has also been around and helping support this and a tireless champion as well. So there's a motion on the table. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay, we're going to pause. Wonderful members of the public listening in. We have an important photo to take, and we'll be back momentarily. Thank you. Welcome back. Thank you for your patience as we took a very important picture with some amazing folks and lots of amazing guests who celebrating our discussion item, which was proving the early childhood care, child care and programs planning and implementation phase professional services agreement. We are now back onto our agenda, and we had taken things out of order, and so now we'll move back to our normal cadence of things. We have approval of the minutes. Colleagues, did you have any changes to the minutes? So I will ask Commissioner Kafal to make that motion, please.
I move to approve the minutes for the week of February 2nd, 2026.
Thank you for that. Is there a motion on the table? Further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All right, 3-0. Moving on to the schedule. Michelle, you get that fun thing to read through our schedule today.
I do. Good morning, Commissioners. This is your draft schedule for the week of February 16th through the 22nd of 2026. On Monday, February 16th at 1 p.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally will attend the National Society Daughter of the American Revolution Namakwa Chapter Student Recognition and Patriotic Tea at Zion Lutheran Church in Loveland, and then county offices will also be closed in observance of the President's Day holiday. On Tuesday, February 17th at 9 a.m., you will have administrative matters, which is this meeting in this room, followed by legal matters with the county attorney. At 12 p.m., Commissioner Kafalis will attend the Community Corrections Advisory Board meeting. It is hybrid and in person in the hearing room, which is this room. At 1:30 p.m., there will be administrative direction to county management in the Sprague Lake Conference Room. On Wednesday, February 18th at 11:30 a.m., Commissioner Kafalis will attend the Red Feather Lakes Chamber meeting at the Tavern in Red Feather Lakes. At 12:15, Commissioner Shattuck McNally may participate in the virtual Colorado Communities for Climate Action Legislative Committee meeting. At 1:30 p.m., there will be a work session regarding the current future population numbers and trends in the Commissioners' Conference Room. And at 4 p.m., Commissioners may attend the Veterans Together meeting. Location will be announced prior to the meeting. On Thursday, February 19th at 8 a.m., Commissioner Kafalis may attend the Housing Catalyst Board of Commissioners meeting. It is hybrid and in person at the Housing Catalyst in Fort Collins. At 10 a.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally may attend the Harvest Farm ribbon cutting ceremony in Wellington. At 11:30 a.m., Commissioners may participate in the virtual Counties and Commissioners Acting Together Fiscal Reform and Public Health Human Services Committee meetings. At 12 p.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally will host Common Grounds in Estes Park, and the topic and location will be announced prior to the meeting. At 1:30 p.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally may participate in the virtual Estes Park Board of Directors meeting. At 2 p.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally may participate in the virtual Larimer County Opioid Abatement Advisory Group meeting. And at 3 p.m., Commissioner Stevens may participate in the virtual Northern Front Range Metropolitan Planning Organization Finance Committee meeting. At 4 p.m., Commissioner Stevens may participate in the virtual Northern Front Range Metropolitan Planning Organization Executive Committee meeting. At 5 p.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally may attend the Land Stewardship Advisory meeting. It is a hybrid meeting and in person at the Horsetooth Area Information Center in Fort Collins. At 6 p.m., Commissioner Kafalis will attend the Board of Health meeting, also a hybrid meeting in person at 1525 Blue Spruce in Fort Collins. On Friday, February 20th at 8:30 a.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally will participate in the virtual Forest Health Council Legislative Committee meeting. At 12 p.m., Commissioner Stevens may participate in the virtual Counties and Commissioners Inc. Human Services Office Hours meeting. At 5 p.m., Commissioner Kafalis will attend the LaPorte First Community Library Grand Opening event in Fort Collins. At 6 p.m., Commissioner Kafalis will attend the Livermore Fire Protection District Appreciation Dinner, and that is at the Forks Mercantile and Saloon in Livermore. On Saturday, February 21st at 8 a.m., Commissioners Stevens and Shattuck McNally will attend the National Association of Counties Legislative Conference in Washington, D.C., and they will also do that on Sunday, February 22nd. And then also on Sunday, February 22nd, Commissioner Kafalis, at 2 p.m., at 2 p.m., Commissioner Kafalis will attend the Fort Collins Museum of Discovery, the Human Library in Fort Collins. And that's what we got.
Thanks, Michelle. We'll see if there's any changes. Commissioner Stevens?
Yeah, I have a couple. I will say on Thursday, February 19th, from 4 to 5:30, I'm going to attend the kickoff for the Neurodiversity Chamber of Commerce. That's at the Neighbor on Mason Street, so that's something. And then also, I am going to try to make it to at 10 a.m. on February 19th, if I can squeeze it in. We'll try to attend the Harvest Farm ribbon cutting as well.
Commissioner Kafalis?
Thank you. I'm also planning to attend the neurodiversity kickoff of the chamber. Have to navigate that. So, and the other thing is regarding the Harvest Farm ribbon cutting. I was planning to attend at least a portion of that, but we should get clarification because the invitation that I got indicated 9:30 to 10:30. So we want to make sure we have the times right.
Michelle, I also had that question, is that I have it at 9:30. I think we have to be up there beforehand. So Commissioner Stevens, I just want to kind of note that for you. On Wednesday, like I said, I'm having lots of meetings. I don't need to list all those. Those are private. The 19th, also, I will be having a meeting with kind of this Youth Mental Health Task Force. We're talking about implementation with several folks, and also, actually, it's for the Suicide Fatality Review Board. We're having a meeting from 11 to noon, and unfortunately, I have overlap, so I'm at least going to go for the first half hour before I have my common grounds up there. So that is virtual meeting, and that's with the Suicide Fatality Review Board for an implementation meeting. And then for Estes Park, it will be just an in-person open hours. It will be at Kind Coffee as usual. For now, I know some others want to do more talk about the Mountain Pine Beetle as we had that big town hall, but we're still looking at a location to facilitate that. And then on Friday, we have those things in the morning, but I also wanted to know that Commissioner Stevens, I will be heading to, and will be in DC that late afternoon, evening, and there are some activities that are happening that evening, so we might be in the same place at the same time, so I thought we should note that we will be there. And that will probably be at the Washington Hilton for some of the welcoming things. But I had a question. As we look at the 24th, we usually, because we're not having the meeting, we usually do the next week's schedule as well. So I didn't know if we needed to, because we read that out. So I'm wondering, because we're not meeting on Tuesday, did we need to somehow notice those as well for the rest of the week, since
You'll be meeting next Tuesday,
on the 24th?
on the 17th.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay, sorry, I wasn't thinking.
You're a week ahead of us. Yeah.
I'm a week ahead. I'm thinking I'm leaving Friday. Okay, I appreciate that. I was just thinking, we might need to talk about those dates. Okay, I think that's all the changes I had. So thanks, Michelle. Okay, moving on. We now have our consent agenda. And our consent agenda usually consists of items of no perceived controversy and routine administrative actions, such as abatements, agreements, deeds, final plans, liquor license, resolutions, and other matters previously reviewed by the Board of County Commissioners. Staff recommends approval of the consent agenda, and a commissioner may request that an item be pulled off the agenda considered separately. And that's why we have several staff in the room, and just in case we do that. I don't think we will today, but we'll ask here in a minute. And we have items that will be, if they are pulled from the agenda, will be considered after the board takes action on the remainder of the consent agenda. I'm going to read through very briefly on the consent agenda. For those in the public and those that are interested, you can go to our website for the Board of Larimer County and go to the Board of County Commissioners. You can look at our consent agenda there and look at any details and amounts and things like that on that agenda. So I'm going to read through this briefly, and colleagues, let me know when I ask at the end if you're interested in pulling one. We first have agreements. The first is amendment number 1 to construction services agreement submitted by engineering, and this is for bid number B25-15, project number 6511, the Ranch Events Complex, the Central Lawn Expansion. This is basically amendments to add funds to a contract, do some change orders that have resulted in some impacts. And again, you can find more details online for that, and that will be starting tomorrow or today, February 10th through 2026 through completion. And that is between Board of County Commissioners of Larimer County and Crossland Construction Company. We also have State of Colorado intergovernmental agreement for the Aquatic Nuisance Species Program, which is a very important program threatening our waterways, and that is submitted by Captain Chris Fleming in the Larimer County Department of Natural Resources. And it's a contract with Colorado Parks and Wildlife to provide funding for our Aquatic Nuisance Species Program, and this is a recurring agreement with Colorado Parks and Wildlife, that will start today and go through February 28th of 2027. We have the Municipal Law Enforcement Services Agreement by and between Larimer County and the town of Berthoud. And this agreement is for law enforcement services in the town of Berthoud, Colorado. And this is until terminated by either party. And this is through the Sheriff's Office and the Board of County Commissioners. And attachment A of 2026 Statement of Work and Budget Agreement by and between Larimer County and the town of Berthoud, stating for the agreement above is the annual agreement for law enforcement services in the town of Berthoud. That is for January 1st through December 31st, 2026. And that is the amount of $3,116,438, and so that's an important partnership, and shout out to the Berthoud squad. They did a great job. Also looking at appointments, there's a recommended midterm appointment to the Namaquo Hills General Improvement District of Jody Jobling for a midterm appointment starting today through November 30th of 2028. We have our liquor license renewal of Glen Echo Liquors LLC, doing business as Glen Echo Liquor, and that's in Bellevue, Colorado. Miscellaneous, we have Larimer County legislative positions, which is just positions that the Larimer County commissioners in partnership with staff to look at bills that we want to take official positions on, and those are all logged in on the Secretary of State website if you're interested in our positions on certain bills of this 2026 legislative session. We have a Colorado Parks and Wildlife Impact Assistance Grant application submitted by our Office of Performance Budget and Strategy. And this is about any county in which land is owned by Colorado Parks and Wildlife is eligible to receive an impact assistance grant to mitigate the cost of exempt state land being withdrawn from property tax bills. And Larimer County has 2,818 acres of state parks and 29,849 acres of state wildlife areas all together for 32,666 acres. And this grant application $69,606.72. And we must apply to receive these funds, and when it requires a commissioner's signature. We have 13 stipulations as to tax year 2025 value, and I won't read through all of those. And that's all we have on the consent agenda. Colleagues, do you have any items you wish to have pulled? Okay, Commissioner Stevens, I will ask if you will please make that motion.
Yes, Madam Chair, I move to approve the consent agenda for February 10th, 2026.
There's a motion on the table. Thank you, Commissioner Stevens. All those in favor? Aye. All right, we are now through our normal business and also discussion items. So we'll move on to and thank you, staff, for being here. Have a great day. I will move on to the county manager update. Lorenda.
Thank you, Commissioners. The first thing on my list is a meeting that Commissioner Shattuck McNally and I had with the City of Littleton officials, and I'll let her talk more about that, but it was a very productive meeting, very good, very welcoming, one of those things to nurture that relationship with the City of Loveland. Later that day, I met with the Loveland City Manager, Jim Thompson. We were able to talk about some more nuts and bolts kind of things, but the morning meeting was, I think, very, very helpful. I also met with Wellington Town Manager Patty Garcia, Estes Park Town Manager Travis Michalik, and Sheriff John Fan. So a lot of external coordination this past week. I will leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorenda. Any questions for Lorenda? Great. We'll go on to Commissioner Activity Parks. We'll start with Commissioner Kafalis.
Thank you. I think I'll pass this morning.
Okay, Commissioner Stevens.
Yeah, just a few things. On Wednesday, I got to speak to a capstone class for the political science class with Sam Hodling. That was a great class. They asked a lot of questions. They are finishing up their degrees and really curious about, government work and how the county functions and how the county functions different than the city government. So a really, really great, energizing class, and was happy to be part of that. On Thursday morning, I virtually attended the STAC meeting, the Statewide Transportation Advisory Committee. We went over the 10-year plans for Region 1, 2, and 4. We are in Region 4 as far as the CDOT is concerned, and so really went over some of the projects that will be happening in our community over the next 10 years. We also, that night I had the Metropolitan Planning Organization meeting in Windsor, and we also talked about the 10-year plan. There is some tussle between, what will be funded as funds are hard to come by these days. And so a lot of question around I-25 being finished all the way with toll roads all the way into Denver versus funding Bustang, which we found out that our Bustang route, the northern I-25 Bustang route, collects the most fares of any of the Bustang routes. So 30% of its costs are funded by fares, which is a really unbelievable amount. So it's a very successful program, but we also need to fund Bustang on I-70, and we also have a train coming. And so I think there's a little bit of tussle of how our toll dollars that are generated in these managed lanes will be divided amongst all those needs. And so, to be continued kind of, I think there will be legislation coming forward this year that will talk about how we're going to fund. I mean, Bustang is pretty wildly successful. It's successful on the I-70 corridor as well. We know transit is important, but it doesn't have guaranteed funding at this point. And so really trying to figure out what that looks like, how we continue to fund that managed lane through Denver so that the Bustang can be on that toll managed lane and get into Denver quickly. And so I think there'll be a lot of conversations about that. So we'll stay tuned for those. And then on Friday, I attended the CCI Legislative Breakfast. It was a great opportunity to visit with our legislators from across the state, and particularly our own legislators in Larimer County, to talk about issues that are important to us, about housing and human services in particular, like what that looks like to reorganize human services so that we aren't sort of bleeding dollars, and that we can afford to pay for both the administration of those dollars and bring our error rates in check. So really great conversations that morning, and then drove after that to the Regional Air Quality Commission meeting in Louisville, which was really interesting. Louisville is doing a lot of really great work around their climate plan. So, and they did mention Heidi, that they loved working with Heidi. So Heidi's got connections not just in Larimer County, but in Boulder County as well. So we also got treated to some coffee at a a food truck that received funding from the Engines Off program from the Regional Air Quality Commission, so they could be electric. So if anybody's been around a food truck, they're usually loud with a generator, kind of stinky, but we love food trucks, so we put up with that, but the people inside also have to put up with that as well. So this is a way to electrify not the car itself, but electrify the equipment inside so they don't have to run a generator, and was nice and quiet, and the coffee was good. And so that's a really great program that I hope we'll see in Larimer County. One of the programs that will be coming to Larimer County is the program to fix cars that are emitting too many emissions. There's a lot of people that can't afford to fix an older car that has so many emissions. So the RAC has identified a car repair shop on North College that will work on those, and they're hoping to fix about 20 to 30 cars a year with the money that they receive from the Non-Attainment Area Air Pollution Mitigation Enterprise. So we've never been able to provide that service in Larimer County and Weld County, and now we are able to. CDPHE, so that's the Colorado Department of Health and Environment, is able to identify people whose cars didn't pass and who have some financial need to be able to fix those cars in particular. So I'm really excited that that program will be coming up here as well. So yeah, lots of good news with regard to air quality, and then spent a lot of time on Zoom, as did Commissioner Shattuck McNally, on the CCI meetings, trying to sort through legislation that would be helpful to us and some that would be less helpful to us. So I think that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Stevens, and I appreciate you sharing about the busting numbers. I might ask for some of that data if you have that on some notes or something, and also very excited about the RAC. And just really quick question, if I could ask you about that. How will folks be, will they be notified of that at their air quality? How will they be notified that their car maybe qualifies for that? If it's when they get their emissions tested, or will they get a notice, or how will they be made aware of that program?
Yeah, so when they get emissions tested, if they don't pass, then I think that they will be told that they need to fix their car, and I think that that people who are who don't have the means only have to spend up to $700, and then if their car is not fixed, they don't have to fix it beyond that, is my understanding. So that's a good question. I don't know the exact details of that, so I can find out. But certainly, like I said, people will be identified through CDPHE that would qualify for those dollars. So if people have questions, they're welcome to send those to me, and I'm happy to field those and ask the RAC to field those questions. But suffice it to say that there will be some dollars available to help with cars in our region. And I mean, the multiplier effect that those cars being fixed, I mean, is amazing. It's like taking, it's like worth, thousands of cars, of both greenhouse gas and NOx emissions off the road. And so it really is a great program that makes a dent in our air quality.
I so understand that and appreciate you sharing that. I'm really excited to hear that, and would love to learn more when you have some of that information. I appreciate you sharing that today. I'll go back to February 3rd on a Tuesday. We're very excited that we started our rodeo board meetings back up, and they're so excited and ready to go, and lots of great work already happening. And I just want to thank the rodeo board. We have a lot of expertise on that board, and just appreciate them already digging in. They did have their elections and kept Rick Harris as their chair, and he has a long history, and I just really appreciate all that they do to have us have such an outstanding rodeo every year. And then on Wednesday, I met with CSU Extension Regional Director Carrie Rollins, and we've been talking still just kind of what's going on around the county and things we can do together, but also still kind of talking about the workforce development through 4-H or other ways for youth to get into wildfire fighting or mitigation work, because that's so desperately needed. And so that was a great conversation. And then I jumped on the Mountain Pine Beetle Coalition meeting, which is for the mountain. It was with the entomologist Dr. Dan West from Colorado State Forest Service, and he also works with U.S. Forest Service. And it was, there's just lots of great information happening, and a lot of folks all diving in and giving of their time, talents to help us tackle this outbreak and see what we can do to mitigate or get ahead of this, which is really a daunting task. I agree, Lorenda, we had a meeting at the City of Loveland's Municipal Building with City Manager Tim Thompson and Mayor McFall, and really started off with just kind of the purpose of the meeting was to nurture our relationship and celebrate the things that we do together, but also set the intention of that we're trying to work together on challenges that we need to try to find ways to partner and discuss. And so I really felt that I agree with you. It was a very productive meeting, and I'm hopeful we'll see how things progress, and I'm sure we'll continue to have those conversations because we'll be meeting regularly. I will be meeting regularly with the mayor. When you ever have a changeover for new mayors or city council, you've got to start over, and I know Commissioner Stevens and Commissioner Falls does this as well. We try to meet regularly with other municipalities and leaders and have important conversations. I think it was former county manager Lorenda Hoffman always said when I first came on, you can't make friends when you need them, and so I just try to follow that we are developing relationships early on and nurturing those. And one thing out of that is maybe we're going to be able to help, and I don't know, Lorenda, if we followed up on that, just having some, maybe since a lot of them are new, maybe introducing to them about Office of Emergency Management and how that process goes, and maybe giving them a little bit of early education so that they can be helpful and partners in times of crisis. We had our NACO Environment, Energy, and Land Use Steering Committee. We went through tons of resolutions. There's some really interesting and important resolutions going on, and we'll be addressing those in Washington, D.C. And so there's a few that I'm really excited about, but a lot of them are going to be challenging to see if they can ever be implemented. And then I had another special session with the State Emergency Medical Trauma Advisory Services Council, which the governor appointed me to, and I'm on the public policy and finance, and that's why we're having the special meetings, because we still are struggling with everything that county and municipalities is unfunded mandates, and so they have mandates on especially serving and paying for mental health or behavioral health clinician sessions free for especially rural areas for first responders, and the need is great and the funding is shrank, and so they're really hard conversations, but I think we're seeing those in a lot of areas, and certainly had to have a lot of special meetings just to address this, because there is a lot of very good opinions, and hopefully I think we used that meeting to really move forward. And then we had our county and commissioners acting together all member meeting. I really wanted to be in person, but because of the SEMTAC meeting, I needed to, the travel logistics just didn't work out, but that was a really great meeting. I think we had some folks from the governor's office come and have a conversation with us, and that was at least 4 hours. I think we went a little beyond that, and Commissioner Stevens and I both were on Zoom, and it was the Zoom week. I think Commissioner Stevens would agree with me on that. It was a long week of Zoom. So then on CCI Thursday, we had the CCI counties and commissioners start at 9, and we had 9 to after 4 of those meetings, and I hung in there, but I was multitasking, and one of those things that I had multitasked was we had our Women Give Luncheon, and I want to thank Lorenda and some others for coming. It was at the Embassy Suites. I would say we had over 800 people there, and it's really to celebrate that Women Give program that really has lifted up a lot of women with early child care assistance, emergency cash assistance, and helping with scholarships and things for those looking to do advanced degrees, and it's these single moms come back and are great mentors for others, and just the success stories also that were shared were really inspiring. And shout out to Delilah and everyone there. And we had a great table and lots of good conversations, and a great way to network with a lot of women leaders. I'm a proud member of Women Give, just for full disclosure, and it's really an important organization to support. I was grateful to have a co-responder right along with the sheriff's deputies, and it was great conversations, and I appreciate their continued diligence and the work that they do. I found it very enlightening to continue the conversations there. And then I drove up to Estes Park for the Estes Valley Watershed Coalition event. And the reason I highlight that is they've been really great partners. They celebrate their 10th year anniversary, and the work that they do is they formed this nonprofit, and they have been very active and done a lot of great work and added not only recovery from the 2013 floods is when they really started building in momentum along with the big Thompson Watershed Coalition, but they've also added forest health and wildlife help, which is expanded their mission, and they're one of the areas they're doing the cold fire with the mushrooms for mitigating or dissolving slash piles. And so I think they've been really innovative in leading the way, and I want to just give them a shout out. And to Mayor Hall, who was their musical entertainment. He's a very talented musician along with his wife, and I really enjoyed that. I haven't got to hear him play very often. Unfortunately, because I have injured my ankle, I wasn't able to get down to Denver, so I joined on Zoom for the whole day, and we had the Forest Health Council Legislative Committee meeting. We're looking still at 2027 legislative priorities. Also debriefed on our legislative breakfast we had the week before. That was highly successful. And then we had steering committee meetings from 9:30 all the way, I think we went past 4:30, and I think Commissioner Stevens and I were on there till the very, very end. I think you had the last one that day. Lots of bills coming and lots of discussions. And then I attended the stakeholder meeting with Senator Marchment for the tax increment financing legislation and possible reform bill. I'm very excited. I see some of the things that I think are important for Larimer County on there. And then we had the Colorado Forest Health Council, and I had a separate call with DNR about the structure and maybe how we're adding some other things there. So that was a very busy day. And I wanted to shout out, it was fun to attend that Saturday. I came down hobbling, but came down for the License to Wed. The Larimer County Clerk and Recorder did a fantastic job. And she had her Corgi, her Larimer County Clerk and Corgi there, Charlie, and we had, I think she said over 20 people, I think, came to get married. One brought their dog, and they put their paw prints on the license, and Diane was there, and she was greeting folks, and it was really well done. The excitement was in the air, and I want to shout out to Tina Harris and everyone in the clerk's office that did a tremendous job, and I really love seeing all the little mini tuxedo things that dogs could wear, and just a lot of joy, and I think it's so innovative and giving folks a chance to come be married and self-solemnize and include their family pet members. It was really outstanding. So as you can see, lots of things happening here in Larimer County. And one thing I wanted to also add, just at the very end, we had our elected officials lunch, and I just wanted to share with the public that all 10 offices of the elected to Larimer County try to meet quarterly for coordination, discussing issues, and for us to just kind of bond and talk, that we don't always get a chance to talk through things in this way. And I really appreciate everyone attending that day, because they're really important conversations, and I think it's, again, building and nurturing relationships, especially at these times, is really important. So with that, that's all I had to share. It's a busy week, but I want the public to understand, even though you don't hear all the things on our schedule, we're in a lot of rooms working really hard, and I'm really excited about the things that Commissioner Stevens shared. We don't have any executive sessions or legal matters, so at 10:23, we are adjourned today. Thank you.